How to make holograms in Minecraft. There are many ways to make holograms in Minecraft, but it is always a hard thing to do. So the question is, how do we make the best holograms in vanilla Minecraft? So hey, welcome back to a new video. My name is Ross and today I am going to teach you how to make holograms. And specifically this hologram right behind me. So today I'm going to teach you how to make this specific hologram of this fish, as well as some tips and tricks on how to make these holograms yourself if you don't want to make a fish, and how they exactly work for your own cyberpunk and holograms needs. So I'm not going to teach you the whole build over here that I made. This is just for show. The world will be downloadable, by the way, so you can check it out for yourself. But we are going to make this fish right behind me. So before the block by block tutorial of this fish hologram, let's just have a look at it. So I came up with this idea because a lot of people are interested in cyberpunk kind of style in Minecraft. And holograms is one of those things that are very hard to make. So I got this genius idea to make these cool fishes from Cyberpunk 2077, or heavily inspired by them. And I came up with this. So it's a very natural looking fish, very normal, but it's all made out of glass. And of course, all the different colors. Then we have this building that is basically one giant projector or hologram projector basically. And it gives the feeling as if the fish are going around. Especially because they have such a natural motion within the build. Then we have this huge glass dome, and this glass dome exists out of two layers, the top layer of the cyan glass, and underneath we have all the colored glass to give that effect as if there is light emitting from this dome. So again, this will be downloadable to check out the build itself, but we are just going to make the fish itself. So, and this is what it looks like at night. Of course, these are all end rods, so they glow and it looks absolutely amazing. And these fishes then come to life because of all the light. Of course, the dome itself also lights up because there is like white carpet underneath with some light source blocks underneath the carpet. And that gives a really cool illuminated effect. Now, of course, I use shaders, so let's go look at that and what it looks like without shaders. So this is what it looks like with shaders, and we use the shader pack Shielders Vibrant Shaders V1.18 High. This is a lighter version of the Shielders shaders, and it just looks good enough. With some light tweaks and everything, you can make this shader pack look very cool. And this is what it looks like without shaders. So as you can see, the colors are a little bit less that great, but you can still see that it is a really cool, nice looking fish. And it still looks pretty cool even without shaders. And this is what it looks like at night. So it still illuminates, it still gives this really cool lighting effect. So if you look from down here, for example, it still looks like it is glowing, and you can see the other fish as well. And the dome looks like this if you fly over it. And yeah, it looks a little bit less great, but still, nonetheless, it looks pretty cool. Now, of course, shaders make Minecraft look way better than just standard Minecraft. So if your computer can handle it, then I heavily suggest to work with shaders because it just looks a lot better with. So let's not wait any longer and let's start with the tutorial. So we are going to do this in a few stages. So as you can see, I have the fish over here, and this is the full fish. And we are going to start with this. So we are going to start with making the body out of full blocks. So no glass blocks, because that is way harder. Because you cannot really see where you place the blocks. So it's a good choice to make it out of full blocks or just solid blocks and then make it into glass. Then we are going to make the fins and all the tails and stuff like that. And then, of course, we are going to change everything into glass, make a nice palette of colors, and then you have your hologram. And of course, I will teach you how to use the lighting and the end rods to make this thing actually look like an hologram. But first, let's start with making the body. Now for the body, I'm going to use the smooth stone block over here. And why? Because it has some nice borders, so you can really see really well how many blocks you have placed. It's a really easy block to get as well. Of course, you can use any other block you like, but for now I'm going to use the smooth stone as the actual solid block instead of the glass. Of course, the fish is in the air, so we are from the ground up in the air somewhere where you want to be. And this block will be the middle block of the fish. So if we look at the fish, we will start in the center of the fish over here. So make sure that you have enough space going upwards and also some space downwards. So to start, we have to figure out what the direction will be of the fish. So if we have this block over here, we are going to build the fish like this. So its face will face a little bit like this. It's basically like that. So the face will go to the left, the tail will go to the right. So just keep that in mind. If you want to do it the other way around, then of course you have to build from the other side. In this case, we are starting from here. And we are going to start with the nose. And what we are going to do is we are going to make the basic shape first, a flat 2D shape. And then we are going to make it 3D. So we have this block over here, and this will be the start of the nose of the fish. And we are going to start with placing 2 more blocks. So this is block 1, 2 and 3 on this side of the block. So the nose will face that way, kinda. Then we are going diagonal by 1 block like this. Then we are going diagonal again by 1 block. Then we go diagonal again, and this time with 2 blocks like this. So if you did that right, you have 3 blocks like this, then diagonal, diagonal, and 2 blocks this way. Now make sure you don't have any corner blocks. We don't want those, so don't make any corner blocks. Then we are going to go diagonal again, and we are going to place 5 blocks. So this is 2 blocks, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So together, as you can see, we have now 3 blocks, 1, 1, 2, and 5. Then we go inwards again. So we are not going diagonal outwards, but this time inwards. And we are going to place 1, 2, and 3 blocks like this. Then we go inwards again, diagonal. And we are going to place 2 blocks like so. So 3 blocks and 2 blocks. And then another time diagonal, inwards, and 2 blocks again, like this. Then we are going to do 4 times 1 single diagonal block. So from this, we are still going inwards, and we place 1 diagonal block, then another diagonal block, and that 4 times. So 1, 2, 3, and 4 like this. On the 4th block, this one, we are actually going to add 1 other block going this direction. So if you look from the top, you should then have this shape. So 3 blocks, 1, 1, 2, 5, 3, 2, 2, 1, 1, 1, and then this is a 2 block that goes this way. Then we go diagonal again, and we are still going the same diagonal way, which is inwards, I would say. And we do this 2 times. So 1 block and then another diagonal block like this. And that's going to be the end of the fish, its body. Now we are going to do the other side, and we are going to start from the nose again. So we start from this block over here, and we are going diagonal from this block like so. And we are going to do the exact same thing, but then mirrored the other way. So this one is going this way, and we are going to do this as well with 3 blocks, like 1, 2, and 3. But as you can see, we go the other way. So if you did that right, then you should have this shape. Then we go diagonal again, inwards from this block with 2, like this. Then we are doing this again with 2 blocks as well. So diagonal inwards, 2 blocks, diagonal inwards, 2 blocks like this. Then we go diagonal inwards again, and this time 5 blocks. So this is block 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 this way. And as you can see, we start to slowly get this shape of the fish. Then we go diagonal again, but this time outwards, and we are going to place 1, 2, and 3 blocks, and we do this again. So go diagonal again. So we have 3 blocks, then go diagonal, and we place 1, 2, and 3. So if you did that right, you have a strip of 4 blocks right now because of this block right here. But we are not done yet. We are going to place 1 more block in this corner right here. So if you did that right, you have this shape. So this side will be 3 blocks, then go inwards 2 blocks, inwards 2 blocks, then inwards 5 blocks. Go outwards 3 blocks, and then outwards 3 blocks again, and you have to place 1 single block in this corner to make this a 3 block strip. So if you did that right, we have this shape if you look from the top. And as you can see, we already have a really nice curvature of the fish itself. Now, of course, this is just a 2D image. So anytime when I make something that is a sculpture and pretty hard to make, I always make it first in 2D and then add the 3D elements to it. So it's very nice to make it in specific layers like this one. So we now have the blueprint of the fish from above. We are going to divide the fish in a few parts to make the 3D element a lot easier. It also gives you a feeling of how big the fish will be. So what we are going to do is we are going to this strip over here, these 5 blocks. And we are going to the exact middle block over here. And what we are going to do is we are going to make the 3D element and see how big the fish will actually be from the top. So not the bottom yet, but we will do the top first. So go to the middle block and add 1, 2 blocks on top of that. Then go to the inside, go diagonal upwards like this, and we place 2 blocks like this. So if you did that right, we have 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2 like this. Then go diagonal again, and we place only 1 block like this. Then we go to the other side and we are going back down again. So what we are going to do is we go diagonal from this 1 block and we place 1 block diagonal like this. Then we go diagonal again and we place 2 blocks like this. So outwards, downwards, 2 blocks like this. Then we are going to place 1 more block to fill in that gap and on top of this layer right here. So just 1 block. And if you did that right, then you have this shape. It looks a bit weird, but now you have the feeling of how big the fish will be on the top. So we will make a shape that goes from here towards here in a nice curvature. And then from here, nice curvature downwards to the tail. So it really helps you out how to make a sculpture by making some kind of rib cage. See it like some kind of skeleton that you're making and then fill in the blanks. So we are going to start from the nose and we are going to fill in this part over here. So what we are going to do is we go to the nose and we are going to these 2 blocks and these 2 blocks. And we are going to place 2 blocks on top of each of those blocks. So if you did that right, then you have this. So 2 blocks over here, 2 blocks over here, and then you have this shape. Then we go inwards, diagonal, and we're going to place a block right here in this corner, and we are going to add 1 and 2 more blocks on this side, and towards the other side we are going to place 3 blocks. So together it will be 4 blocks. So we count this block as 1, then 2, then 3, and then 4. So if you did that right, you have this shape. So 4 blocks like this and 3 blocks like this. Then we go up by 1 block again in this corner, so diagonal like this, and we are going to make a square of 4 blocks. So this is a block 1, and we make a square like this. So we have 4 blocks like this. Then we add 1 block on this side over here. So from this block we go to the right and we place 1 block over here, and the same block but then the other way around. We are going to place 1, 2 and 3 till you connect to this block right here. So if you did that right, you have this weird shape. So we are going to close in this little gap that we created over here. And what we are going to do is we are going to this place over here. We go down and we place 1 and 2 blocks right beneath these 2 blocks that we just placed over here. Then from this block, we are going to add 1 more block and 1 more block. And if you did that right, then we have a closed off strip over here. So it's 2, then 2, and then 3 like this. Then we are going to this layer, to this little gap that we have. And what we are going to do is we place 1 block behind this block, like this. And then we are going to add 1 and 2 like this. So now this is nicely closed off. So now we are going to do the other side and we are going to make this layer by layer. It's maybe a little bit easier to do in this way. So what we are going to do is we are going diagonal from these 2 blocks, or you can just place a block right beneath this one, like so. And then we make 2 of them like this. So 1, 2, like so. Then we go make the corner and we go place a block on this block right here. And then we add another block on this side. So if you do that right, you have this shape. So you have 2 blocks like this, then diagonal, and then 2 blocks like this, the other way around. So this one is going into the fish, basically. So 2 blocks like this, 2 blocks like this. Then we go diagonal, outwards, and we place another 2 blocks like this. So if you did that right, you have 2 like this, then 2 this way, then another 2 this way, and we are going to add 1 last block right here. So to the next layer, pretty easy. We are going from this block right here, we go diagonal like this. So we are closing this little gap off with just 1 block diagonal like this. Then we go diagonal again. You can just place a block right here on top of this one. And we place 1, 2 blocks like this. Then we go diagonal again and we place 1 and 2 blocks like this. So if you did that right, then you should have this shape. So 1 block diagonal, 2 blocks this way, and then another 2 blocks that way. Then the next layer, we are going to go diagonal from this block and we place 1 block over here. Then we place another block next to it, so 2 blocks that goes diagonal like this. And then we add 1 more block right here. So if you did that right, very simple, just 2 blocks over here and 1 block over here. So we have this little gap on top of the fish, and how we are going to close that off is very simple. We go to this block right here and we add 1, 2 and 3 more blocks. So together you have 4 blocks like this. And then we only have to place 1 block over here to close that gap. And there you go. Now we have made the front of the fish. And that looks great. So this is of course only the top of the fish. Of course we still have to make the bottom, but it's easier to make it in this way, to make it part by part. So now we are going to make the back of the fish. So of course, again, not the bottom, but we are going to make the top part over here. And we are going to do this again layer by layer to make it a little bit easier to see what you're doing. So for the first layer on top of here, we are going to start from this block. And what we are going to do is we are going to add 2 blocks on top of these blocks right here. Then we go diagonal and we place 2 blocks again. And we are going to do this 5 times. So this is 1, then 2 blocks diagonal, that's 2. Then we go diagonal again, like so. And we place 2 blocks like this. So 1, 2 and 3. Then we do this again with 2 blocks diagonal like this. So now we have 1, 2, 3 and 4 times. And the last one, we go diagonal and we place 2 blocks. And if you did that right, you should end up on this block right here. So if you did that right, it should look like this from a distance. Then from these 2 blocks, we go inwards on this side of the block. So like this. And then we are going diagonal 1, 2, 3 and 4 times like so. Just with single blocks, diagonal 1, 2 and 3 and 4 times, and you will end up on this block right here. So if you did that right, we now have 1 layer on this side, and of course we still have to do the other side. From the top, it should look like this. So to make the layer on this side, we are going to start from this block right here, and we are going to add 1 more block next to it, like this. So it overhangs a little bit like this. Then we go inwards and we place 1, 2 and 3 blocks like so on top of this layer. Then we go diagonal outwards again like so, and we are going to place 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 blocks like this. So a strip of 5 together will be 6 because of this block. But in front of that block we are actually going to place 1 extra block. So if you did it right, you have a block over here, then 3 blocks, then 5 blocks, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, and then 2 blocks right here. From the top it should look like this. So now we are going to the next layer, and what we are going to do is we start from this block over here and we place 1 block next to it. So now if that's right, you have 2 blocks right here. Then we go diagonal inwards like so. Again, break all the corner blocks and we place 1, 2 and 3 blocks like this. Diagonal like this. Then we go diagonal and we place 2 blocks. So 3 blocks like this, then 2 blocks, then we go diagonal again and place 2 blocks. So you can just place 2 blocks on top of these 2. And then we are actually going diagonal with only 1 block. So we are going to diagonal with 1 block, and we do this 4 times. So this is block 1, diagonal block 2, then diagonal block 3 and diagonal block 4 like this. If you did that right, we now have this layer on this side. And that should look like this. And then we are going to do the other side. So this one will be very straightforward. What we are going to do is we are going to add 5 blocks to this block. So go to this block right here and add 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 like this. Then go diagonal outwards and we place 1, 2, 3, 4, and again 5 blocks. So if you did that right, you have 5 blocks over here and 5 blocks over here. Now, if you count them all together, of course, this one is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And this one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 blocks. But of course, we already placed this line. So you only place 5 blocks over here and 5 blocks over here. And then it should look like this. So we go to the other side again, and we are going to make the next layer. And this time we are going to start from this block right here. And what we are going to do is we are going to add 1, 2, and 3 more blocks like this. Then go diagonal, like so, and we place 2 blocks diagonal like this. Then we do this again, go diagonal and place 2 blocks like so. Then we go diagonal by only 1 block like so. And then we place 2 blocks diagonal from that single block. So go from this single block diagonal again and place 2 blocks like this. So 3 blocks, 2 blocks, 2 blocks, only 1, and then 2 blocks again. So you see now that we slowly start to make a slope right here towards the tail. And we of course have to do this side still. And what we are going to do is we are going to this block right here. We add 1 more block like so. Then we go diagonal inwards and we place 1, 2, and 3 blocks like this. Then we go diagonal outwards. So you can place a block on top of this one. And then we place 1, 2, and 3, and then together it will make a strip of 4 blocks like this. And then of course there are already 2 blocks over here, so we don't have to place those. So now we can go to the next layer. This one is very simple. Only what we have to do is diagonal with 2 blocks. So we start from this block, we add another 2 blocks. So together it will be a strip of 3. Then we go diagonal and we place 2 blocks. Then we go diagonal again and we place 2 blocks. And we go diagonal again and we place 2 blocks. So 3, 2, 2, and 2. Now on this side, it's basically just connecting these 2 blocks. So we can just place another 4 blocks like this. One long strip like this. And now, of course, we have this part over here, which is very simple. We are going to cover this little hole that is left and we place 1 and 2 blocks. Then we go diagonal inwards into the fish and place 2 blocks more. So if you did that right, you should end up with this shape. And this is of course the top of the fish. And if you look around, it looks absolutely amazing. It has really nice shape and it looks very, very good. So now we are going to make the underside of the fish. So to make it easier, I made all the blocks that we just placed all red. So now we don't have to look at this anymore, so your brain will understand it a little bit easier. So just don't mind this, you don't have to do this, but it's just easier to build to see what you're actually doing. So this was the middle line that we first made, and we are going to do the underside of the fish, and we are going to do this the exact same way as we did the top. So we go to the middle block of these 5 blocks, which is this one right here. Then we place 1 more block beneath that. And then we go diagonal inwards into the fish by 1. Then another diagonal block like this. Then we go diagonal upwards by 1 block. And diagonal upwards again by 1 block. So we just make a V shape of 5 diagonal blocks like this. So we are going to do this the same way as we did the tail. We are going to do this layer by layer. And we are starting from this block right here that we just placed. And we go diagonal like so. Of course we go inwards because this is the bottom. It's a bit weird to see, but we are going inwards like this. So 1 block over here. And then 1, 2, and 3 like this. So 3 blocks like this. Then we go diagonal again by 1 block. Then we go diagonal again by 1 block. And then we go diagonal again by a block. And this one will be 3 long. So 1, 2, and 3 this way. So if you did that right, we have 1 block over here that we already placed. Then we have 3 blocks, 1 diagonal block, 1 diagonal block, and then 3 blocks like this way. Then we go around to this side, and what we are going to do is we are going to add 2 blocks over here. So if you look from the bottom, we have a nice V shape like this. So 2 blocks over here. Then we go diagonal inwards with 2 blocks again. And we add 1 more block to this block right here. So if you did it right, we have 3, 2, and 2, like this. From the bottom, it looks like this. So 3 blocks, 1, 1, a big V shape over here, then 2 and 2. So for the next layer, we start from this block and we add one more block next to that one. We go diagonal inwards with 2 blocks like this. Then we go diagonal, and this one will be 2 blocks as well, but the other way around. So we have 2 blocks like this, and then 2 blocks that go this way. That's really weird because you get a gap over here, but we will fill this in later. Then we are going diagonal again, but just with 1 block. So to fill in this gap, you can just place a block right here to close that off. Very simple. So if you did that right, you now have this. And of course, we have to do the other side. So from this one single block, we are going to place 1, 2, and 3 more extra blocks. So you will have a strip of 4 blocks, if that's right. And then you go inwards by 1 diagonal block right here. And that's it. Now we have a nice line over here. So for the last layer, we are going to this block right here. And what we are going to do is we go diagonal immediately like this, and we place 1, 2, and 3 blocks like this. Now that of course looks a bit weird because we have these holes, and again we are going to fill this in on this layer. So we just fill those blocks in like so, and now it's all nice and closed off. So now we have the front part of the fish completely done, and of course we still have to do the back. So again, we are going to do this layer by layer, and we start with this block right here, and we place one more block right next to that block. So you have 2 blocks like this. Then we go diagonal inwards, of course, by just 1 block. Then we go inwards again by 1 block, and this time we are going to place 1, 2, 3, and 4 blocks like this. So a strip of 4 blocks like this. Then we go diagonal again, inwards of course, and then place 2 blocks like so. Then we go diagonal again, and this time just with 1 block, and we are going to do this a few more times. So 1, another diagonal block, another diagonal block, and another diagonal block. So if you did that right, we have 4 diagonal blocks like this. Actually we need 5, so 1 more. So if you did that right, we have 1 over here, 1 diagonal, and then a strip of 4, a strip of 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 diagonal blocks like this. So of course now we go to the other side. We start from this block right here, and then we add 1 more block next to it. We go inwards, and we place a strip of 3 blocks. So 1, 2, and 3 like this. Then we go outwards again, diagonal like this, and we make a strip of 3 blocks again. So 1, 2, and 3 like this. We go outwards again, diagonal, and we make a strip of 1, 2, and the 3rd block is already there. So if you did it right, we have 1 more block that we add over here, then 3 blocks inwards, 3 blocks outwards, and 3 blocks outwards again. And then you will end up over here. So we are going to do the next layer, and what we are going to do is we go to this block right here. We add 1 more block like this. Then we go diagonal inwards, and we make a strip of 3 blocks. So 1, 2, and 3 like this. Then we go diagonal again, and we make a strip of 2 blocks like so. We go diagonal again, and we make a strip of 2 blocks again. Very simple. So 3, 2, and 2, and of course we have to add 1 more block over here. So if you did it right, then you should have this. From the bottom it looks like this, and of course we have to close off this little gap. So for that we are going to go to this block, and we add 1 and 2 more blocks like so, and we do this on the bottom side as well. So go to this block and add another 2 blocks like this. And if you did it right, we have now the full body of the fish. Now of course we are going to make this into glass, as I said, but this is just very easy to see what we are actually doing. Now before we actually make this into glass, it's better to make the fins first, because it's much easier to see before everything is glass. Otherwise you don't really know where you're placing the blocks. So for this I'm going to use 1 color of glass, just to make it a little bit easier, because if we are going to use a lot of colors, then you don't really know where I'm placing the blocks. So for now, we are going to use the red stained glass. You can also choose any other color you like. But for now, I will use one single color, and which is red stained glass, and of course the glass pane. And I turned off the shaders because then it's a little bit easier to see the actual blocks. So first, let's start with the glass blocks. And what we are going to do is we go to these 3 blocks over here, and we place one glass block right next to that, and one diagonal from that, like this. Then we are going to add 1, 2, and 3 more glass blocks on top of here. Then we go to this strip, and we also place 2 blocks on top of this one. Also 2 blocks on top of here. And then we go diagonal, and we place only 1 block right here. So the reason that we use full blocks right here is because, of course, the fin will get thinner and thinner the higher it goes up. So we start with a thicker layer, which is the block of the glass block, and then we go thinner by using the paints like this to make the actual fin. So we still use the red stained glass blocks, and we go down to these two blocks, and we place also 2 glass blocks on top of this one and 1 down here. And that's all the glass blocks that we are going to use in the top fin. So for the rest, we are going to use the glass paints. And the glass paints, I'm going to use the orange just so you can easily see what I'm doing. And we are going to do this layer by layer as well. We don't need the blocks anymore for this top fin at least. So what we are going to do is we go to this layer right here. And we are going to use the orange glass for this just so you can easily see what I'm placing. Again, you can choose your own colors. So we go to this layer over here to the inside of the fish. And we are going to place 1 pane over here in this corner, 2 panes over in this corner, and 1 over here. So 1 over here in this corner, 2 over here, and 1 over there. Then to the other side of this block, we are also going to place a pane. And this one is 2 blocks long, and it goes into a corner on top of this block. So if you did it right, you then have this. So there are also some of the glass panes down here. So what we're going to do is we are going to this level right here. And again, we are in the inside of the fish. We are going to place 1 pane on this block right here. Then we make the corner and we place 1, and then we place another one like this. Then we place 1 like this, so cornering this way, and then 1 to the left like this. Then we are going down 1 layer, and we are going to place a glass pane on this glass block right here on this side, and then 1 to the left like so. Then we go 1 layer lower, and we do the exact same thing that we did over here. So 1 glass pane like this, and then 1 to the left like this. So this is the first layer. The second layer is like this. It's very simple. The third layer is like this. And on the 4th layer, we are not done yet because there are some glass panes that will be on top of here. So what we are going to do is we are going to this glass pane right here. We place 1 on top, 1 to the left, and then 1 the other way like this. So in a corner like this. Then we are going to place a glass pane, just 1 single one, on this corner right here. So you have like a little one sticking out like this. And we do also 1 of those on this glass pane right here. So if you did it right, then you have this design right here. So now we are going to the next layer of the glass panes. Of course, we are still in the inside of the fish, and we are going to this right here. And what we are going to do is we are going to place a glass pane on top of this glass block, then 1 to the left over here on top of this glass pane, and then make the corner, and it will connect to this glass block right here. Then we go to this one over here on this side, and what we are going to do is we are going to place a glass pane. We immediately make the corner towards the inside of the fish, then again make the corner like this, and place another glass pane like this. So we have 1 glass pane over here, 1 glass pane over here, and then 1 and 2 next to it like this. Then we go to the outside of the fish, to the other side, and we're going to place a glass pane on top of this glass block right here. So you will get a square of glass like this. And then we are going to place a glass pane on this glass pane as well, like this, so sticking out this way. It doesn't really matter how you place it. It's just I do the exact same thing what we did over here on this fish, but it doesn't really matter how you place them. You can just try and make a design yourself, and it doesn't really matter if one of those glass panes are placed differently. So don't worry if you place them a little bit different, that's completely fine. So I made the glass panes that we just placed all red to make it a little bit easier, but I forgot to, in this corner right here, we are on the inside of the fish. Over here, we also placed 2 glass panes like this on top of these 2 glass panes that we just placed the layer before. And to make it convenient, I will make them red as well. So now we are going to the next layer on top of here. And so now if I'm using orange, you can see exactly what I'm placing. This is all what we already have placed, of course. So just to make it a little bit easier. So we start on this glass block right here. And we are going to place a glass pane. Then we go to the right with 1 glass pane like this. Again, we are on the inside of the fish. And then we make a square like this. Then we go to this glass pane over here and we place 1 right next to it. And then we make a strip of 4 of these glass panes. So this is glass pane 1, then 2, and then 3, and then 4, like this. Then on the last 3 that we just placed, we are going to place glass panes on this one, and this one, like this. So if you're from the inside, it then looks like this. So we have a box over here and a box over here. Then we go to this corner over here, this glass pane, and we place 1 right next to it, like this, on this side. Then we place 1 more. Then we go into a corner. Then we make a corner again. We make the corner again. We make the corner again, like this, and then we keep it like this. So if you did it right, you have this design over here. From the top, it then looks like this if you did it right. So now we are going to the next layer, and again I have made them red to make it a little bit easier that we just placed. And what we are going to do is we are going to this box right here, to this one. So not the outer one, but this one. And on top of that, we are going to do the exact same structure. So again, 4 glass panes like this, making a box right on top of this one. Then 1 glass pane over here on top of this glass pane right here. And 1 glass pane over here. And what we are going to do is we are going to follow this path. So place 1, then 2, then 3, then we make the corner. Then this is 4, and then 1 more, 5, like this. And then at the end of this one, this glass pane, we place 1 glass pane sticking out like that, just like we did down here, over here, like this. So if you did it right, now we have made the whole fin of the fish. And later I will show you how to color them, but for now I will keep it red. So now we are going to work on the tail. And first what we are going to do, just like we did with the big fin, we are starting with the full blocks. And what we are going to do is we are going to place a glass block right on top of this end of the tail, like this. Then we go diagonal, like so. And we do that with 2 blocks, like this. So 1 block over here, then go diagonal, 2 blocks facing this way. Then we go diagonal again, just by 1 block, like this. Then on top of these 2 blocks that we just placed, we are going to place 1 extra block on top of it. So 2 blocks over here, 2 blocks over here, 1 block and 1 block like this. Then we are going to this block that we just placed all the way at the end. We go to the bottom, we place a glass block and another glass block, and we break the middle one. So it is floating like this. Then we are going down with 1 more glass block like this. So from the top block right here, we are going diagonal again. And we basically follow the same pattern that we just did up here. So if you did it right, you have 2 blocks like this with a space between over here. And then 1 block diagonal, and we place another one just like we did up here. So if you did it right, we have 2 blocks like this, 2 blocks like this, and some space between all these glass blocks up here. If you did it right, it should look like this. But we are not done yet. We have some more full blocks of glass to place. And what we are going to do is we are going to this block right here. And what we are going to do is we are going up and diagonal like this. So up diagonal like this. Then we are going up diagonal again, and also towards the inside of the fish, or actually in this case I would say it's the outside. But as you can see, now we are also going diagonal like this. So not only upwards, but also diagonal towards this side. And we place one more block next to it, like this. So if you did it right, then you should have this design. So that's all the glass, or the full blocks of glass. And now we are going to use the glass panes. And again, I'm going to use orange to make it a little bit easier to see what we are actually doing. In this case, I'm going to work from the top towards the bottom. So we are going to start with this one block over here, or these glass blocks. And what we are going to do is we are going to place glass panes against this block right here, this way. Then we place one, we place another one. We go into a corner towards this way, so that way of the fish. Then we make a corner again. So these two are corner glass panes. We place another glass pane, of course, for that, and another one next to it like this. So if you did that right, that's one glass pane, another one into a corner, into another corner of glass, and then 1 and 2 like this. Then on the same layer, we are now on the other side of the fish, and we are going to place a glass pane on this glass block right here, like so, and we are immediately into a corner like this. And that's it for this layer. So for the next layer, we are going to start with this glass block right here, and we are going to attach a glass pane on this side of the block towards the back of the tail. And we are going to make another like box shape. So we are going to make a glass pane going that way, another one and another one like this. So you have like this box shape. So if you did it right, it should be against this glass block should be the glass pane, and that should lead into a box shape like this with 4 glass panes. And then you place one more glass pane on this corner right here, facing that way like this. And then we go to the other side of the glass block. We place a glass pane on this side. Then we go into a corner and we place another glass pane like this. So if you did it right, then you should have this design right here for this layer. So for the next layer, we actually are going to start over here on this glass block right here. Again, we are on the outside of the fish, and we are going to place a glass pane right here. Then we go into a corner like so, and that's it. And then we are going to place a glass pane in this corner right here between these 2 blocks, like so. And then we go to this side of this glass block, and we are going to do the exact same thing that we did over here. So one glass pane on this side, and then we go to the right, so to this side of the fish, and we make a box shape. So another 2, and then you have this box shape again, and one glass pane at the end on this corner like this. So if you did it right, you have 2 glass panes like this, one into a corner and then one next to it, one in this corner, and then one that goes into a box shape, and then you add another one on the end of this box in this corner right here. So if you did it right, you have this design. So for the next layer, we are going to this glass block right here, and we are going to place a glass pane right in this corner like this. Then we go to this corner and we place another glass pane like this, just one, like so. Then we go all the way to the end, the last glass block, and we are going to place on this face, on this side of the glass block, we are going to place a glass pane and another one and one more like this. So 3 blocks of glass panes like this against this glass block. Then we go to the other side of the fish tail, so the inside of the fish. And we are going to make or place a glass pane again on the same level in this corner right here. So not against this block, but in this corner and in this corner, like so. And that's this layer. So we are going to the next layer, and we are going to this full block right here.